Hi, hello, and welcome to the first edition of the Queer Vision podcast. I am Koee Starr, Koee of Connectalon, one of the co-founders of Queerolina. This is...
Hi, I'm Becca.
And joining us virtually...
I'm Megan.
Oh.
Hi, I'm Megan.
That's for Megan. Megan is usually here in the studio, but right now she's sickly ill.
Yeah, and I'm not driving 45 minutes, especially when I'm sick.
We understand.
Respect. Today we wanted to start off our podcast with this one, as we just wanted to let you all know who we are, what we are doing, and just talk about the intricacies of starting a queer business organization in the South. Because we've definitely been hit with a lot of things that we didn't really expect over the past few months.
Or that we did expect.
Or that we kind of did expect, but not in the way that it came. Would you say?
We probably could have been slightly more prepared.
Yeah. Probably could have, slightly been more.
But can you be prepared for every single thing?
No.
Okay. Exactly. So we did write down a few questions, so we would remember them.
Stay flexible, and then you never have to be prepared. Being flexible is being prepared.
I'm not good at that.
Well, go do some yoga. I don't know.
Okay. So, how do we? What question do we ask first? How we got started? Why we got started?
Let me just say, can I ask, y'all are the co-founders, as co-founders, what was your vision for creating a queer company business in the South?
Did we have one? I don't know. I mean, we had ideas, but did we have, a full vision?
I think just really... Okay, and I love that you turned the tables. You said, okay, I'm going to get interviewed.
Now it's me, your writer, interviewing you as co-founders. You're welcome.
Okay, well, I did send you the questions to make sure we have the topics.
And I kind of live for that.
Let me check for those.
They're in the Discord.
Her Discord.
I think, the vision, at least in my perspective, was... I don't know. I wanted to create something that I felt like there wasn't. And at the end of the day, it really came about when me and Becca literally were meeting for lunch the day after the presidential election, and the results came out. And I was like, we hadn't really talked a lot. And I was like, let's go to the other pair and get breakfast, because we were both shook up.
We were so stressed.
And then we started talking about some things that happened with our local pride group that we didn't love. And so we just were like, let's create something else, but let's just do it for us, and let's do it based on love and based on visibility, instead of trying to be we are, sometimes in super liberal culture, it can be very us against them. And it happens with conservative people. It's just the whole divide. We've all talked about this a lot. It gets very much to being, it's them or us. And we just wanted to create something that didn't feel so exclusive or didn't feel so...
You have to be a perfect person to be in this group.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't even call it liberal versus conservative. I'd say it's manufactured divisiveness given to us by the system, so that they don't realize that the real divide is money.
Yeah, and that's what we were noticing. Like Koee did say, the local pride group that we didn't love, and I want to give a little bit of detail on that. Of, the reason that we decided not to be involved with the pride group is because it was very aggressive. So it was very much the first thing people were noticing was, well, there's not a place for us here, so we had to make one. And if you don't put up a safe space here, you hate gay people. It was very outwardly not accepting two people who were just in a conservative county, who've probably grown up with conservative families, who are just for the first time, hey, I exist here, I grew up here, and this is what they're seeing, or just moving here, and this is the first thing they're seeing. And so it was very much an aggressive attitude from this side, and then we're also seeing the aggressive attitude from the people who don't want us to be here. And so we were just sitting here no matter what we do, it sucks. And then also right after the election, everybody was like, if you know anybody who voted for Trump, kick them out of your life. If you know anybody who didn't vote for Kamala, kick them out of your life. And it was very much okay, well, for a lot of people here, that would mean that they're completely alone because their whole family voted for Trump.
Right,
so
especially children. especially kids,
especially.
like gay kids. So yeah, to kind of like articulate, I think what both of y'all are saying. Y'all, I will say, y'all do sound almost like you're at a point of frustration in this very moment. Like maybe y'all have been like talking about this ahead of time, and like y'all got like a little like heated or something about this.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Y'all both do sound from the perspective where you're like a little like already a little bit fed up. Like you've been your posters have been torn down by conservatives. You're being attacked by more like people on the left that don't think that you're being left enough. And I think that, you know, what both of y'all are just trying to say is that there's a lack of understanding of the nuance of being queer in the South.
This is why we have you, because
Yeah, just, I mean, like,
emotionally removed a little bit.
I'm emotionally removed. I did not have my posters torn down. I did not receive an angry email saying, hey, like, y'all are not being a safe space. Like, y'all support MAGA. From an anonymous account. Sorry if you wouldn't want to out that, edit it out. I'll rephrase this. I have not been in y'all's shoes. Like I have not had to directly deal with backlash regarding if y'all are a safe enough space or if you are left enough. I did not have to deal with like my posters literally being torn down by like likely people who just don't want to see drag queens on a poster. I have not had to directly deal with that, so I am able to be a little bit more emotionally removed from it and just look at it from like a third party perspective to say like it's very frustrating to be in your position and just try to start something. It's very frustrating. You're just trying to start something like really like beautiful and like helpful, especially something that you would have wanted as being like a queer person that might have grown up in like a conservative community and wanted to include like your family or wanted to maybe like even though it's not our job to educate people to like help people learn like hey we're humans too. I mean that's why Harvey Milk invented National Coming Out Day. He like his thought was that if everybody knew a gay person, then it would be harder to reject gay people. Right. And because his thought was like, we can't just murder everybody that disagrees with us and create a world where we all agree with each other. That's all gay people. So we're gonna have to be around these people. We're gonna have to work with them. Like we're gonna have to work a 9 to 5 job. I work in a restaurant. I work with people that are homophobic, and every day I am out and proud, and I carry my Queerolina mug, and I just like I'm a very like I'd like to hope a likable person at work, and I hope that that makes them think differently about how they feel about queer people. And there are some people on the left that would say, "Well, you should just never talk to them. You should ignore them." Well, I do work with them in a kitchen, so there's communication involved. You
Yeah,
know, so like,
and also like not communicating with them shows them a side that we are not open to growth either. So like even if they did change their minds, even if they did grow and become more accepting, that we're not going to accept them. So it's
right,
like people change. I mean, I will say like whenever I was in like middle school, high school, whenever I was learning about this, like I knew that my brother was gay and we all made fun of him because that was what we did. Like as the community, that's what my father did. So that's what I did, right? And he's 7 years older than me. So like who would want to be friends with my brother anyway, right? Like let's just add on that he's gay. And then later on I'm like, oh, that was actually like really, really mean. Like you don't realize it until you realize it.
yeah. So
And
I feel like we really, yeah, like we've dived right in to like the meat of this conversation. I want to backpedal just a little bit, and ask you just like about the name Queerolina, where it came from. Um, is it original? Did y'all come up with it? Are there other people that use the name? That's my
Okay.
question.
Here's
I'll
the
leave it
thing.
for you.
Queerolina is a okay. There is one group that has used the Queerolina name. Did we get it from that group? No. Did it come completely 100% from our brain?
No.
No. Did ChatGPT help us?
Yeah.
Yes. But
it hit. ChatGPT had like what 10 good names, and this one we saw it and we were like, this is it.
And we like yo-yoed on other names. I think there was one that was like Southern something. Oh,
I mean, Post Malone's name came from a name generator.
for real. Like I think we like were like something like Southern queer or something, but then it just didn't sound right.
It didn't roll off the tongue.
It didn't encapsulate like what we were trying to do, and I feel like Queerolina really did.
Who is this other group that used Queerolina?
It was the UNC library. They did a exhibit of sorts.
It's an exhibit at their library.
It's like an exhibit, and also like like they also like have a bunch of different queer media.
They have some queer media. It doesn't really have much on their website, if I'm being honest. It does have stories. It has a map. There's PDFs and images and stuff like that, and you can share your own story there. I did call them once because we literally sat down and we weren't going to do anything. And then in that moment, we were like, we should just do it ourselves. And then we like came up with a name, and we had all these plans to like start a magazine. Okay, Koee had some plans to start a magazine.
Yeah, I was the one that wanted to start the magazine.
I was iffy about it because I didn't think anybody would like it. But then I was like, maybe we should check and see before we do all this if anybody has used this name before. I searched it, and then I called UNC's library and was like, hey, can I get a hold of the Queerolina people? And they were like, who? And I was like, it's on Google. And then some guy had to look it up and give me the phone number. And then I talked to a lady, and I was like, are we okay to use this name? And they were fully supportive. They said that it was just like basically some students on campus that just created it, came up with the name, and were like, let's be us and let's share stories. And we were like, can we do it too? So.
And it was like exclusively a campus thing.
Yeah.
So we have wanted to get in complete touch with them so that we can collaborate at some point. We just haven't had that point of contact yet, as we're not sure if there's anybody that actively runs it, or if it was just something that was created by
like a project or something
while they were there, like a project, essentially.
Yeah.
Which is what it seems more to be.
Okay, cool. I mean, we really did dive right into the meat of things. I will say that, like, my first question was, why did y'all start Queerolina? And then we jumped into the infighting topic.
It was heavy on the mind because, and I will say, like, even right now as I'm recording this, because I feel like it will come over through video and voice, like, I am anxious. I am stressed because it's hard when, you know, you are just trying to create more space in the community, and then you find certain people that like want to kind of get under your skin and try to dissolve that for whatever reason, or try to like find any kind of little thing that, you know, you aren't doing perfectly.
Yeah, because it's almost like if you aren't perfect, you can't be the voice for this thing. And it's like nobody's perfect. Literally nobody is. And if you disagree with what we're doing, that's fine. You can start as many things like this as you want. We can have 10 queer groups that have magazines.
Yeah, and I think that's what it comes down to too, is just that feeling from the community is like you come up with something, and not that I'm like, let me preface. When I thought of Queerolina, it was never like, oh, I want to be praised for this. I want everyone to be like, wow, you're doing this thing. Like, thank you so much. Thank you so much. No. But like,
we are not gods, and we do not want to be.
No. But in that same breath, like, I didn't think that like trying to create a space would have certain people upset. I guess that was something that I didn't really think about because I did live in my own little bubble of positive people that I surrounded myself with, and I wasn't, you know, really around people who weren't happy to see other people succeeding, whether they were doing something good or not, because it wasn't them. So I think like it just comes down to a lot of that infighting, and it is heavy on my mind because I spent all of yesterday being stressed about it. Which is something, as a business owner, I also have to learn to remove myself and be like, okay, let it be what it is. People are going to have their own opinions and their own viewpoints.
And I will say I did expect a little bit of what happened because I was so heavily involved with that pride group. And then, like, I realized that because nobody is perfect, somebody is going to be mad about something no matter what you do. And also, like, I've run my own business for, it'll be 5 years this year. And I know you can do something that 100 people online love, and one person will just be like, I don't like this, and just give you a really shitty review. Somebody's going to find a reason to be mad, and that, like, I think as a society too, we need to remember it's not about us. Sometimes it's about them. So like, they are upset about something because they are upset about their life, or they're upset about something that's going on that like they wish they were a part of something, or they wish they were strong enough to do something you're doing, and so they're going to take it on you instead of change their behavior.
Yeah, two things. Number one, I want to go ahead and plug the second issue of the Queer Vision. I actually write about this topic and infighting I think the article is going to be called "Strength in Numbers." It's a working title because I might change the title. But in the article, I kind of briefly touch on like the civil rights movement and the infighting within the civil rights movement. I talk about Asian people and infighting with Asian people and model minorities. How like Asian people have been known to be the model minority, and oftentimes like your working class Asians are left out. I talk about queer communities and how we leave out the trans community and how that's infighting. Like, there's trans exclusionary radical feminists. You've got, like, J.K. Rowling, who was like, Albus Dumbledore is gay. I'm a feminist. I hate trans people. You know, there's infighting in every community. And I do touch on that in that article, so I'm going to plug the second issue of the Queer Vision. I also want to straight up, like, say, just from my perspective, like, less as me interviewing y'all as co-founders, more just from me who works for the Queer Vision and believes in the Queer Vision and my personal politics. I think we've been accused of, like, being kind of, like, soft on conservative people recently, and I want to, like, look at the camera and say, hey, I'm, like, a leftist, like, genuinely.
Yeah.
And my personal politics, Koee's personal politics, Becca's personal politics, Lars, Ellen's personal politics, they might all vary a little bit. Like, we might all have, like, different things about the military, different things about guns, different things about different opinions. I would call myself a leftist, genuinely.
Yeah.
I do not, none of us, not a single one of us, support conservative ideals. Not a single one of us support MAGA. Not a single one of us support Project 2025. Not a single one of us support that. Not a single one of us would support, endorse, or give money to intentionally anyone who is supporting that. Obviously, we all, and I'm looking at you, who would accuse us of something like that. We all shop at Amazon. We all shop at Walmart. I try my best. I don't have an Amazon Prime subscription, but I had to buy my air filters for my apartment so that we don't cough and die from Amazon because it was the only place that sold them. So I just want to like be very clear that this is a local business, as well as other queer local businesses in the area, which we could touch on later, are local queer owned businesses. And if you shop at Walmart, low key, I don't want to hear it.
And that's so real, though.
That's valid.
And I get it, and you don't want to support anybody that's awful. There's no, there's a line between there is no ethical consumption under capitalism and not wanting to put your money towards an individual bad person. I can personally vouch for every single person here. And if you're trying to be like, I don't know these people. Who are these random people that are trying to start this Queerolina? Are they just like money hungry people who are actually MAGAs? Read our first issue. There's an about me on every single one of us. If we were money hungry, we wouldn't be paying printing presses for copies of a magazine. And you know what I mean? Like, this is not
like,
that. I can personally vouch as Koee's friend that she got into this to promo drag queens and to help drag queens get more money and get more gigs.
And I think this is like a good moment to also just touch on like who we actually are for anyone watching. And you're like, wow, you just dove into all this tea. So hopefully that was your hook. So hopefully you're still watching.
Yeah, I know people love tea. This is tea.
I know y'all wanted the drama anyway. But no, like, so a little bit about me is I have always been so queer. It's been literally, I'm definitely one of those people that I feel like when I thought I wasn't clockable, I was clockable. Definitely like even the points in my life where I'm like, I masked up. People are like, girl, what? When? I remember I thought I was really masked when I met Megan for the first time. And you were like, girl, what? But anyway, besides the point. So personally, my personal experience is I grew up in the South. Grew up very poor, very queer in Northeast Tennessee. Never really feeling like there was anyone like me or a place where I did necessarily feel safe in my small conservative hometown, because there really wasn't. Nowhere had pride flags other than like the local Spencer's. Nowhere, the Spencer's was probably literally the only safe place. Like, and it was a chain. There was nowhere local. There was no anything. So for me, like, the queer community has always just been so ingrained with my identity and who I am. And I don't know, being gender queer, gender fluid, and like going through my emotions with my own gender. You know, when the magazine started, I did identify primarily as trans femme. I do now identify more as either gender queer or gender fluid. I also just think gender is a spectrum, and I'm talking in circles because I'm ADHD, so my medicine is wore off at this time. The point is, you can get to know us better through. I mean, you have all our social links. You have our About Us, which is more refined than this.
I will say that part of the reason that we connected so hard is because part of it was because my best friend Ellen, who lived across the street from me, moved, and I went over there anytime I was stressed about anything. And then Koee moved in, and at first I was like, no, you can't go over there all the time. You can't be annoying to these new people, especially since they're young. They won't understand that you just need to leave your house sometimes. And so like I did invite Koee out to the event that I was helping put on. The Pride event that I put on. And so we connected that way, kind of, is how we sort of like built that little gap. But I personally was not like, as I didn't even know that I liked women until like other people knew. I didn't know until I was in college. I remember one of my best friends, actually my best friend since I was 6 years old, she like literally sat me down one day and was like, you know that we'll still love you if you like women. Like, it's okay if you don't want to date men. And I was like, I do like men, but also, okay. And at first I was like, no, that's not me. And then I realized, like, through time, I'm still fighting a lot of the like social norms that were put on me, and like the gender role norms, like all the stuff that is thrown on you by society when you live in a small town. And so like then I remember one of the conversations that we had pretty early on was whenever I was like, I don't feel like I'm queer enough to be able to say that I have a problem with this group. Like, I don't feel like I'm queer enough to do this, this, and this and make a change or do anything, or to tell people how they should be acting in this world right now. But like, so I thought like me saying, hey, we should be talking to more conservative people and like bridging that gap and explaining like what they voted for, what's going to happen, why we're afraid. Like, we should be doing all this stuff, but like at the same time I was like, but I'm just bisexual. So like and I've mostly dated men, so like I'm not enough. Like, I can't be the one saying this stuff. But then Koee, like being the person that they are and like being so out proud for so long, I was just like, okay, if you're saying that this is also a problem, it is.
And that being said, like, it's not saying like you should go up and hug every conservative,
No.
and you should be like, we're besties, like, you voted against my rights, but like, I love you, come here and like let me give you a little kiss on the cheek. Like, no. But it also is to say, like, I don't know, there is something to bridging the gap is important, and actually the only way you actually make change is one of two ways. It is to talk to people in a language that they understand, or war.
And we don't really want war because that means death.
So most people don't love war, and personally, I'm one of those people. So I would prefer to talk to people in a language that they can understand when I feel that I have the bandwidth for that. Not every queer person has the bandwidth for that. Not every queer person should be doing that, and it's not every queer person's responsibility to do that.
However, the bare minimum is not immediately being aggressive, because I feel like that is such an off-put to everybody, and right now we should be realizing that like we have way more in common than we do different. Literally, like the fact that we're all struggling every single day to make our bills and to put food on the table, and we are all tired as fuck because we're going to work for how many hours a day to get paid pennies. And whose fault is that? It's not, as much as we want to blame them, it's not that person who voted conservatively in the last 2 elections. It's not that person over there for being trans. It is the people up there in the wherever Washington D.C. is that are making all these decisions because they're like 90 years old and won't have to deal with the consequences.
I think it's also really important to note that when like, well, it's very much a straw man argument to say, well, okay, I think I want to bring up straw man arguments in general on both sides, whereas like we as like more liberal people or left-leaning people have this like image of a villain conservative, and our image of a villain conservative is either like a billionaire, right? Or it's like worse. This is the worst. It's like a white, hillbilly, redneck, conservative person. And that's our villain, right? And that's who, like, we were like, oh, we can put all of transphobia, all of homophobia on that person. And that ends up putting all of transphobia and all of homophobia on the South. And then people view the South as that hillbilly, white, redneck person, which is just not true. And to put all of that on this, like, caricature of a person that we've created is to not only, like, erase all the black people in the South, first of all, but just to, like, count out an entire region of communities. And, like, if you, like, look at a map, like, all those blue dots in the South are large populations of people. It's a large population of diverse people, and there is a ton of diversity in the South. To erase that is wrong. And honestly, to not understand that the South has been systemically oppressed to be lower class, and, like, we could go into, like, reparations and, like, why that's, like, systemically oppressed the black community, and why a lot of the transphobia and homophobia that I've heard is from the black community, because it's a widely systemically oppressed community, including the white poor community as well, that's just been told, like, you're poor, here's the reason. Let's blame trans people. Let's blame drag queens. That's why you're poor. Let's blame immigrants. That's why you're poor. Right? It's historically a pattern. It's what Hitler did. He blamed immigrants. He blamed people who were disabled. He blamed these people are leeches on the system. These people are using your tax dollars for trans surgeries in the military. These people are using your tax dollars, or they're not paying taxes because they're illegal immigrants. It's all these fake talking points that they've told systemically oppressed people, specifically in the South, to make them blame immigrants and gay people for the reason that grocery prices are high, even though there's billionaires who are the real reason that grocery prices are high. No, let's blame other poor people, and the poor people will believe that other poor people are the reason that they're broke. They won't blame the billionaires, and that's essentially what's happening. To not understand that nuance is to just be angry in your heart, which is what we've seen from people. And I do want to put, like, hopefully in the when we finish this, we can record, like, a little preface for some context, because I do think we jumped right into some tea and drama, and we probably should be like, hey, here's the context. We got an email, blah 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 blah, or, like, we've been hearing these things, blah 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 blah, from the community. But to not understand the nuance of systemic oppression is to not understand the world that we're living in, and to erase a lot of diversity in the South.
I agree. And I also just think, like, even when you're, like, talking about, like, the straw man kind of argument and, like, being able, just the way that people are always trying to point a finger at somebody, it just goes to, like, also show that it is a societal problem as a whole of how easily, like, the he said, she said bullshit, for, like, lack of better words. It's like one person says something about one person, and then it's like, oh, I can see how that could be true, so I'm going to roll with it, and I'm going to tell this person that I know that this person is like that because I heard it from this person. And then it just, it's literally basic stuff that we were told in elementary school. And it happens, and it's crazy how easily it happens to humanity. And it happens to all of us too. Like, we're not free of it. Mm-mm. I've almost felt the same things, with certain entities, and people being like, oh, like, you should be careful because this, and this. And then it turns to find out, like, when I form my own opinion, that it was completely wrong.
And it is so hard in a time when you are getting social media is information, like, all over the place, and you are inundated with ads everywhere. You can't go to the gas station without having 50 ads, but, like, you go everywhere and it's just, like, ads upon ads upon ads upon ads. And so, like, it's just so much information is just hitting your brain, and even your subconscious is hearing it too. And so, like, whenever you get that information and you're tired from the end of the day, you're like, you know what? I do believe that this person hates me because of blah, 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 and, like, thinks gay people shouldn't exist because they voted for Trump. Like, and so it is very easy to not look at the nuance and not educate yourself on any of the topics that are happening, because it's like, I'm tired. And if I Google it, I have to Google it the exact right way, or else I'm going to just do bias and get the answer I want anyway.
Yeah. Two things. There have been, and it's also, like, a lot of people have been saying, like, I asked my mom, like, or their mom have come to them and been like, oh my gosh, I voted for Trump because I thought he was going to lower the prices. And they're like, yeah, mom, he lied to avoid prison. Duh. But it's like, that person's mom didn't hate gay people. That person's mom was lied to, right? And second thing about the forming opinions thing, Hank Green. I think I mentioned this in like an interview that we did, which this is like out of order, but I think I mentioned this when we interviewed someone else, that like Hank Green crashed out on the internet. It was like, we all need to collectively say, I don't know shit.
Yeah.
I don't know shit. Because people are like, there's a scene in Good Will Hunting where this man comes into a bar. It's a ridiculous scene when you really think about it, and starts like talking about like American history to Matt Damon, and is just like quoting other books. And Matt Damon was like, "Really, you're gonna plagiarize the whole thing for us, or are you actually gonna share an opinion of your own?" And that's what a lot of people do these days. Is just like, they'll read a comment, or they'll see a TikTok video about an opinion, and they'll just regurgitate that opinion at you, and you're just like, like how easily we fall for propaganda when all we do is just regurgitate opinions of others. Yeah, that's what I'll say about that.
No, that's so real. Yeah, and I think the end of it is just, it's crazy. Like, I think personally, I just wasn't, I didn't realize how big of a problem infighting was. Like, I'm gonna be so honest. Like, I really didn't see it as such a big
crazy
thing. And I don't know how I didn't. And that maybe just shows like my own ignorance and like me not being educated, because I don't know. I'm such an optimist to my demise.
You are.
So I like to believe the best in people. So I'm like, there's no way like it's that serious, like, you know? And so I think that's why it's been so hard for me personally just to like grasp and really deal with. But like, I'm figuring it out. Obviously, I'm not over here trying to be like, ooh, poor me. Like, obviously, you know, but
You didn't understand it when that one time we tried to record a podcast with just me and you, and you were like, God, you were so worried that you were gonna get canceled that you just kept on like filtering your words and like being like, I'm sorry, no, we're not gonna get. And that's what I was doing. But it's because there is so much like nitpicking within the left community that we nitpick each other, and then we'll kick other people out of the left community, therefore reducing our numbers and losing elections. We nitpick people out of our numbers until we have like, okay, these are 10 good people that we can trust. And then one of those people, oh, they dressed up as a Chinese person in their Nutcracker play in second grade. I actually did that because I got placed as a Chinese dancer in my second grade Nutcracker play. Yeah, I got hate crimes. Anyways, but like, you know, there were white people with me that also they wore the hats. You know what I'm saying? Like, some people would be like, "Wow, they did that in second grade. Let's kick them out of the left community." Okay, that you just created another third-party voter or Trump voter by doing that.
You
right?
have to be perfect.
That's what someone recently told us, like that's something that the right does really well, and it's part of being ignorant and part of being like less intellectual and less like intellectualizing things and overanalyzing things, and for lack of a better word, less smart. Part of the bliss of being less smart is someone's like, "Oh yeah, I'm a conservative." Okay, great. You're in. Right?
Yeah.
There's a lot less divisiveness on that side, and that's why they beat us in elections.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I don't want to, you know, us to just talk in circles, you know, but definitely this was the conversation we wanted to sit and have, and you know, we wanted to sit here and just talk about all the infighting and stuff because we've experienced it a lot.
We have, and I think we also have experienced it a lot lately. And I think, I mean, okay, it's a podcast. Let's be honest. Every single podcast that I have listened to, they never talk in order when they all have ADHDs. I think it's okay. We can explain now what we were talking about earlier with the email, and what happened is everything with us has gone at an astronomical rate. We sat down at the end of November, and then we're like, maybe we should just like make this thing. And then Koee was like, let's do a magazine. And I had a friend, and Koee had two friends, and we were like, let's make it work. And by the time the end of December rolled around, we had our first event that went really well. We profited from the first event, not a lot, but we still profited right before Christmas. And then we had our magazine come out in January, and we had a lot of people support it and love it. We've also had a lot of events. Right now we're sitting at 2 events, planning like 4 more, 5 more, so many more.
Oh, I can't keep track.
We
There's
have
like 5, I think, right now.
We have a lot of events coming up, and every single time that we get done, we're like, this was so much work, but then people love it. And I was sitting here. I helped my friend Katie at Down to Earth. It's a crystal shop in downtown Smithfield, which is a metaphysical shop. So it's going to get hate in a conservative area, but actually she did have some protests early on. She wasn't here for it, but there were protests. And then the local pride group ended up not liking her because she sells Jesus stickers, which she won't want me to say they're Christian stickers because she does not like to be labeled as Christian. She just likes Jesus, likes his words, right? So she has Jesus. I'm sure Jesus would have supported everything we're doing. So I like Jesus too. And so there are Jesus stickers here, and that started a whole war with the local pride group. And that's what kind of started me not liking it and feeling uncomfortable because I was like, I thought we were supporting love here. And Jesus loved everybody, let's be honest, and would have flipped the tables of everybody in the government. And lately, she had wanted to step back because she had started to her aunt. Her aunt passed away before she got the physical store, so she's been doing this all on her own for the past three, I don't remember how many years, doesn't matter. But she also has a kid that she homeschools, and she's like, I stick him in the back room because I can't have him out here when customers are here. I feel bad for that. And also she wanted to spend more time with her family. She felt like she wasn't actually with them. And so she's been wanting to step back. I tried to help out where I could, but I also run another business. And she's just like, I don't think I can do this on my own, but she couldn't expand the hours. And we were like, at one point, Koee had joined me at an organizing job, and we like back and forth, so many ideas, so many dreams. And we were like, we're not to the point where we can afford to have a physical space yet. Like, we can't do this. But it kind of fell together.
That's what's something that's been so weird about this journey too. Like, let's like flipping this to be more positive is just the fact, and I'm so grateful, honestly, like through all the bullshit, the infighting, the whatever, spinning of narratives, I am so grateful for where we're at, and I'm so grateful to you and to everybody else on the team, because like, I don't know, it really has been astronomical in the way that every door has just like opened it with a simple knock. Like
not even a knock. Literally,
like,
it was
like me going up to turn the knob and someone opened it for me.
Yeah.
Almost
got hit in the face with it.
And I'll be like honest about that because it has been, I mean, and not to say that it hasn't took a lot of hard work, because I literally have quit my job for this. I'm making like no money. And none of us are making any money.
None of us are making money from this. No.
From this. So it definitely has been a lot of hard work. Like now with the shop that we are opening, working.
Well, we're not opening. We're
opening,
joining.
But
we're joining.
You know, we're going to be really busy with that as well. And it's going to take up even more hours.
Yeah. The magazine, the events, and now a physical space that we're turning into a community area. It was just a shop, and now it's going to be a space people can come in, bring coffee from the neighboring restaurant, and hang out. But that also means longer hours. That means we're going to be tired as fuck.
But
meanwhile, I'm just stressed about finishing some edits and accepting some comments on my articles.
Bruh, get your shit in.
No, but like on a real note, it's crazy, like the way that everything has so fell together. You know, with the shop here, you know, it was an idea. We were like, let's look in Selma, let's look in Smithfield, but then it was like, we don't have the funding for that.
Yeah, because it takes so much to open a shop. You have to have the computer software, you have, not software, but like the little square thingies that are kind of expensive. You have to have shelving, you have to have merch, you have to have something that people can buy so that you can make the money in your space. And the fact that Katie has the space was like, go for it, go ham. And like, let's just split it.
Yeah, and she's been like so supportive in really everything. You know, allowing us to put up whatever we feel, to you know, letting us choose vendors to put in here that are queer and minority owned. So it's just, you know, to have that, I don't think anyone could point us to any other business that would do what she is allowing us to do.
Especially not in this area.
Especially not in this area, you know, for paying, you know, like only, I'm not going to get into all the logistics of everyone's business. Yeah, but half of rent, like just for paying half of rent on a business that she's already started and built up from the ground up on her own, to let us come in and be like, yeah, you can reshape this how you feel for the most part. And it's been like, I don't know anyone else who would literally offer that.
And for anybody that's concerned, we are keeping the bones that she built. Like, we're not coming in here and being like,
Yeah.
oh, you want us to be involved? Let's just take it all over. It's more so like she had the bones of a loving crystal shop where you can come in, you can learn how to heal yourself with crystals, you can use these books to learn, and incense, whatever. She has so much stuff.
Yeah, it's a
But
metaphysical store.
she has so much stuff to heal yourself, and she also has like
Right.
some stuff from like Earthly that has like tinctures and stuff like that you can take if you have an upset stomach, like things like that. And so like she has this bones of this business that is beautiful, and we aren't trying to change that. All we're trying to do is add to it. We're adding the community space that people want to come in here longer, because I know people already do. People, after one of the customers lost her mom, was in here for like 3 hours because she just didn't want to go home. But like there wasn't a space to sit down, so she was just staying there talking to us, which is fine. But having this community space is hopefully going to be like, okay, I want to start my small business. I'm going to come in here and work because the library's closed and the coffee shop's closed. Or like, I want to hang out with my best friend, but they're queer and my parents aren't accepting, so they can't come over here. So let's just go down to earth and let's hang out. Like, you know, we just want it to be able to grow from where it is. Not take it over completely.
Yeah.
I would also like to say, like, a personal message, just to, like, anybody that is, like, questioning, like, the Jesus stickers in Kitty's shop, or just, like, the overall, like, message that we've kind of said today. Like, I know some of this has sounded kind of a little bit frustrated, but I do, like, recognize that if you are frustrated at us for, like, not being more hateful towards conservative people in the South, I understand that comes from a place of, like, pain and grief, especially if you are being, like, angry and upset. Like, you are in, like, an anger stage of grief. And I want to, like, look at you and recognize that, like, I'm sure that the Christian community has hurt you. I'm sure that the conservative community has hurt you. It's hurt me. Both of those communities have hurt me very deeply. But it took, like, working through that, through therapy, to find, like, the positivity and the joy. It's not to quote RuPaul, but, like, you can look at the darkness, but don't stare. Because if you stare, it will eat you up inside, and it will make you crazy. And it will make you send people really, really crazy emails from anonymous accounts. It will make you do crazy things, but I want to recognize your grief and your pain and say that, like, if you are open to a conversation to talk about that grief and pain, if you're in a place that you want to look at it, my Instagram is public. My DMs are open. My Instagram is on my About Me page in the first issue of the Queer Vision, which is free. A little bit of a plug, but also, like, it's open. If you want to have that open and honest discussion and dialogue, hit me up. I'm happy to talk about the grief of the Christian and the conservative community. I'm happy to talk about, like, how that's hurt you, how that's affected you, and how to turn that anger, instead of just yelling at other queer people who are trying to make safe spaces, to turn that anger into creating something, which, again, is quoting RuPaul. Like, he said, like, the solution is not to stare into the darkness and get mad. The solution is to create joy and create spaces where you feel safe to have that joy. Creativity is always what they want to keep us from doing. Like, the conservative, like, community and that divisive, like, oligarchy, they want to keep us from creating safe spaces and creating something beautiful. But I just want to, like, recognize that grief and maybe help you, like, find a way to turn it into something, instead of infighting and turning it in on your own community. Turn it into something beautiful and creative.
And, like, I want to echo that as well, because I do feel like, yeah, like you have said, like, I can admit that maybe some of, like, my remarks even could have come off a little offensive. Because, you know, it is hard when you're in that situation. You do feel like, oh, I've worked so hard on this thing, and now people are trying to, like, tarnish my reputation and say all these things that are literally nowhere near true. But I also feel it, and I will even admit, like, when I first came in Katie's shop, I never saw anything that was like Jesus or any cross or anything. And so I was like, I don't understand. I came back, I did see them, and I did go, but then I had to recorrect myself and think, okay, where is that coming from? And I had to realize, okay, this is coming from my past experiences and my past trauma. And that doesn't invalidate that past trauma, because I have also been done really dirty by a lot of people in the conservative community and a lot of people in the Christian community. I mean, I'm not going to go into details about all my story, but it's definitely, many instances have happened. I mean, I came out when I was in 6th grade. So, and I continued to go to church and then lie about, you know, my sexuality until I got fed up. And moral of the story is, I've been through it and I've felt it. And I do see how when you walk into a place, it can feel jarring and it can feel scary. But that is also part of the reason that didn't make us even want to do this more, was because we could kind of be like, okay, these things can exist while also you can have a rainbow and a pride sticker right beside it, and they don't invalidate each other because it's not actual scripture that ever really invalidates any of this. It's the people that have took the scripture and morphed it into what they want it to be. Just like any other political argument or political whatever you want to call it. So I've been there, and I also do feel your pain, and I do hope that like you can see that what we are trying to do is just create more space wherever we can create that. And sometimes that isn't always cookie cutter. It isn't always the perfect space, especially not when you're in the rural South.
Yeah, I know that I do come off a lot more logical because I've had to, because that's how I have coped with a lot of things, is when my emotions are high, the only way that I can bring them down is to logic my way out of it and explain to my body why I'm feeling the things that I'm feeling, or to go scream in a pillow. It's literally one of the two. I have no in between. And so like when all this stuff happens, I go back to like my therapy of reaction versus response. And so like whatever, like I never respond to anything right away if I'm angry. Like I will, or if I'm frustrated, if I'm scared, if I'm anxious, whatever, I will literally, I'll have that reaction and I'll be like, okay, well, what's the response? And so like whenever we get attacked for stuff, I don't get defensive at all. And so like I think we can meet somewhere in the middle of like, we need to defend ourselves and stand up for ourselves, but also you can't get caught in that. Well, no, it's not like this. It's not like that. And it's not like this. And it's not like that. Because that's what they want. They want us to spend time on this instead of doing what we're doing. And so like, it's almost like having our own limits. And I'm sure we're all going to figure out our own limits in time, or like as a business, we're going to figure out our own, this is how long we respond to stuff before we're like, okay, cut it off. This isn't doing anything. It's just going in circles and wasting my time and energy when I could be putting it somewhere else. And so that's where I am. And like, I also, like, I run my own business. I've run that for a while. And so like I've had to limit that even shorter because it's only me in the other one. And so I think that's why immediately my response is, I'm not dealing with this.
Yeah.
Just shut it down and say, you're being irresponsible. You're being irrational. And I know that's not fair, but it is an immediate response.
And I mean, I understand that too, because even coming from like doing social media for a lot of my life, like, you know, I have kind of, you know, I'm used to hearing crazy shit, but I feel like this was just a different side that I had yet to see. And it's also been a while. That's why I've distanced myself from social media, because it's a lot.
But now we're doing it together, so it'll be a little bit easier.
But
I don't want to cut this short, but we are running out of time.
Yes, we are running out of time. We really just want to get on here and have an open conversation, say welcome to the Queer Vision Pod, and what a way to welcome a queer-ass gay podcast than with drama. But no, really.
That's what the people really love and want.
No, true. I mean, we're just making good television. We're making good media right now. No, but really everything we stand for is just to amplify queer voices and create more safe spaces in North Carolina and hopefully more of the South over time. And genuinely from the bottom of my heart, like, this means the world to me, and I put so much in it for a reason, and I know Rebecca has too, and I know you have, and everybody else. And so at the end of the day, I guess it's just, I hope if you are watching this,
or listening,
or wherever you're reading, whatever, that you just see that we're human, that we're people.
And we're people that really care about queer issues. All five of us really, really, really care about the queer community with our hearts and souls. All five of us.
Yeah. And that everything that we're doing is, you know, out of the good, like to try to do good. So yes.
And yeah, hit me up if you want to talk about it. We're open to critiques. We're just like not open to being like attacked and canceled and reviewed and slandered.
Yeah.
Libel. I'm not open to libel, but I am open to discussion, and I will apologize if I mess it up, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, if there is something that you feel like, ooh, like I feel slighted by this, like, please, my DMs are also open. My the email, insight@queerolina.org. By all means, if you would like to engage in a, a healthy discussion and you have any questions or anything, like, by all means, email the email. We will see it.
We'll see it directly to our phone.
Yeah. So, yeah, we are open.
And support the queer vision. The first issue is free, and the second issue is coming soon. As soon as I do those daunting comments on my articles and transcribe these interviews.
And look forward to the future issues of the Queer Vision pod if you are listening.
And so many events.
Thank you so much for watching this slightly messy episode of the Queer Vision pod, and hopefully you got to know us a little bit better. And I can't do.
If you have any questions, you can always send them in. We'll either answer them here, or we'll answer them in the Visionary Voices part of our Queer Vision. We'd love to answer questions, so please send them in.
I feel delirious as the Vyvanse has now wore off, and I become a gremlin at night, and it is 6 p.m. or 7 p.m.
It's 6 p.m. It's 6 p.m. and we still have an interview to do.
Okay. This has been great. This is Koee. I'm Koee. Koee Starr, Koee of Kanekalon. This is...
Hey, I'm Becca.
And...
Megan.
Yes, and we are the Queer Vision pod. We will see you, or you will hear and see us next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.